So you want to be a mage that uses incantations as their primary source of damage in Elden Ring. Using incantations as your primary source of damage seems to be underrated. People seem to think the actual powerful ones take too long to cast and you won't get them off, and all the other ones are just useless, or sorceries are just going to be a better option. Well, that's not really true, and for that reason I will today show you a very powerful build where we use incantations as our primary source of damage. And the best thing about this is that you can become very powerful and OP at the literal start of the game with the build that I'm going to show you. For our class we're going to go with the Prophet this time. The points in Faith and Arcane that this class gives you at the start is exactly what we need for this build. Our keepsake is going to be the Golden Seed. An extra flask at the start of the game to restore our FP is just too good to pass up on. Now when you enter the game you will see that you start out with Catch Flame and Heal. Catch Flame is really good in terms of damage and it's pretty much the Prophet's Carrion Slicer, but its range is incredibly short, so it's only going to be situationally good. And Heal is, well, something that heals you. It has some extra utility in the fact that you can use it to also damage enemies. And it's very good versus the undead type of enemies as it's holy damage in fact, but for now we don't need that as well. So what we're going to do instead is right from the start, while we're still at the first grace in the game, start working on our build. And considering there's an incredibly powerful seal right here in the starting area, we will start off with getting our weapons this time. We will want to enter the fog wall right here for this, but to do this we need to get 2 stone sword keys. Thankfully there are 2 stone sword keys in Limgrave, not too far away from here. Get your horse to make things faster and go to Stormhill Shack right here. And when you're there, pick up the stone sword key that you can loot from the body. Don't forget to talk to Rodrika 3 times to get the jellyfish summon, which is definitely a decent summon for the early game. The second stone sword key can be found in the Dragon Burnt Runes right here. Pick that one up as well, and now you have done all the preparatory work to open the fog gate. Open the gate and now you have to progress through this cave, and if you're doing this at the start of the game like I'm doing, you will probably die a few times before you get it down, and the enemies here will hurt you in fact. But basically you will want to avoid the massive death machine that you probably have noticed by now and just progress upwards till you see this guy. He in fact has the key to this build on him, and you can definitely try to take him down 1 versus 1 with your starter stuff and low FP and health. But it's probably not recommended, and at this point of the game you might still be too weak to do that. So an easy way to just get him killed is by luring him outside the chamber and let him get ran over by that pain in the ass thing, which now as you can see actually has some kind of use to it. It's just too efficient to do it like that. And accordingly loot the Dragon Communion Seal. This seal is incredibly good and it's going to be our primary weapon. Our secondary weapon is thankfully nearby as well. You want to go to this spot on the map for it. When you arrive here, you will get invaded by Bloody Finger Nereches. Now again, since it's the start of the game, you might not be able to take him down, as he is just simply a lot higher in level than you. But just wait a bit and the game will summon another guy that is going to help us. He will tank the fight for you, and meanwhile you can just spam Catch Flame or attack him with your spear. When you get him down, you will be rewarded with the Reduvia dagger. This is a really powerful and fast attacking dagger that complements our build very well, and we will use it for the early to mid game. I will talk about these weapons a bit later in this video and why we actually want to use them. But for now we need to keep moving, because we're going to go to everybody's favorite region in the game, Caelid. On the road, try to get 3 levels in Arcane till it's at 13. Now go back to the Dragon Burnt Runes where we picked up the second stone sword key earlier in this video, but this time go down the stairs and interact with the chest. If you're already familiar with this chest, then just act all surprised. If not, then this is actually a trap that's going to teleport us to Caelid. It will make things a lot faster. It will teleport us to this cave specifically, and you will want to run outside of it as fast as possible, because the enemies are going to destroy you. Get the grace, mount up, and now you want to go and move through Caelid something like this. We're going to go and pick up our first talisman and meet Greyroll. And the reason why you want to take this route is mostly because it just opens up Caelid a lot, and you'll touch a lot of graces on the road, which is going to be very useful for later, and especially because there are several points of interest for us on this particular route. Eventually when you complete the route you will end up at Fort Ferret. When you're at the fort, go inside and ignore all the bats and just run towards the ladder. When you get to the ladder, climb up the ladder. When you're at the roof, jump to the other side and run some more till you can jump down this second big hole. Then when you jump down that hole, take a turn to the right. move some more till you see a hidden path to your right again, jump on that, and keep progressing till you can jump down again. In this part of the fort you will find Radagon Soreseal, and I've talked about this talisman before, but it's an incredibly useful talisman that is going to give us a bunch of stats and levels for free. And we're going to get all of these levels right at the start. Equip the talisman and now you also have all the requirements to wear the Reduvia dagger. And it's time to go and kill Greyroll. Greyroll is the giant ass dragon taking a nap outside of Fort Ferret. The problem with taking him down, however, even though he's doing nothing, he still has a lot of HP. So you'll want to pick up a weapon with a bleed built in. And thankfully the Reduvia dagger that we picked up earlier has exactly that. As you can see, every few hits that you hit him with the dagger, you will instantly see big numbers pop up on the screen. This is when your daggers bleed procs, and just keep doing that and eventually you will kill Greyroll. When you do so you get a bunch of runes, which is definitely useful but not really that important in this case as you can get that anywhere. What's mostly important is that we get 5 dragon hearts and this opens up our build. Now when you think of incantations, and especially powerful incantations, you cannot miss the dragon incantations in your build. They are very powerful and overall deal the most damage out of any incantation in the game, even when you barely have any investments in your stats, which makes them such a good option. And with going out of our way to go to Caelid and kill Greyroll, we already have access to a bunch of them right from the start. Add to that the seal that we picked up earlier, Scales of Arcane and Fate, but also boosts the already hard-hitting dragon incantations with a lot of extra damage. The seal also ultimately gets S tier scaling in Arcane and thus gets even better and better. And definitely something you will want to pick up. It is a common misconception that you need to have Fate to actually get the best damage out of Fate based incantations. The numbers you see on the incantations are just requirements and do not matter that much in terms of which stat you actually want to invest points in to scale your incantations. What actually matters is the seal that you use to cast your incantations and how that seal in particular has its scalings. And accordingly to those stats, that's how you're going to invest your points. So in this case we're going to primarily invest points into Arcane as it gets a S tier scaling later on, and only invest points into Fate as much as we need to be able to use all the incantations that we are going to use. The hybrid scaling on the seal makes this an excellent way to spend your points and will maximize our damage output. Now the Reduvia dagger fits in with this really well as well, and it's so powerful that you could also just run a build based on that, but we are going to use it as a secondary weapon because it's a weapon with arcane scaling, and investing points into arcane will make it proc its bleed even faster. But it's also a very fast weapon that you can just use to kill off enemies quickly when you don't want to waste FP. Using these two weapons together is going to make a very powerful combination, so definitely pick them up both. Now Greyroll also gave us a bunch of runes that you can use to level up and meet all the requirements for the dragon incantations. So for that, get 28 Fate and 17 Arcane and spend 1 point into Endurance, and then finally put the rest into Mind. With that you will have met all the requirements for the dragon incantations in the game, even the ones we won't be using right now but for the late game. Now this build works with low numbers in damage stats. This is because the dragon incantations have a very high scaling, so even when our damage stats such as Arcane and Fate are only in the 10s and the 20s, you will still deal insane damage. But the dragon incantations drain your FP very quickly, and while casting them you are definitely vulnerable, and this build really starts to shine when you up your survivability and sustainability, because the damage is already all there. If you would go all out on the damage stats like you would with say an intelligence mage build, then it's just not going to work well. Sorceries have a completely different scaling compared to dragon incantations, so that type of point investment is not optimal here. That's why we need more mind and more vigor. These are going to be our focus for at least the next 20 levels. So after spending the runes you got from Greyroll, you'll want to get to at least 20 vigor during the next few levels. Prioritize that, and after getting 20 vigor, start investing more points into mind till you have around 30. And for our damage stat, keep investing points into Arcane, as our seal scales primarily with Arcane. We have met the Fate requirements for all the spells that we will be using for a very long time, so don't worry about spending points into Fate. It's going to be on standby for now. Just use all your points for Arcane next to Vigor and Mind. Your next goal should be to get Arcane to at least 45, Vigor to 40 and Mind to 30. This will guide you and will cover you for about the next 50 levels. Now the good parts start, because we are going to pick up our first OP incantations. Go to the Cathedral of Dragon Communion in Caelid, pick up Rotten Breath, Dragon Claw and Dragon Eyes, and you'll have 2 Dragon Hearts left from the 5 we picked up from Greyroll, but we will use them later on. From here on out, you can start destroying every boss in the game, even with our seal still stuck on very low tier scalings. The Scarlet Rot that Rotten Breath applies on bosses will one-shot a lot of them, and you can definitely start playing the game like this without even making the build stronger or watching the rest of this guide. This is already a very good basis that you have. With our selection of dragon incantations, you always want to use Rotten Breath as a staple spell, as the Scarlet Rot it gives your enemies is just simply too good. Then you want to follow up with the Dragon Eyes, which will proc Frostbite for you and deal insane damage as well. And if the enemy you're fighting is close to you, you can use Dragon Claw for incredible close range AoE damage. And you can use Dragon Claw twice in a row, by the way, which versus a lot of bosses and enemies in the game will stagger them and in many cases also just kill them off. To make it even better, all of these spells are AoE spells as well, so you can clear entire groups of mobs within a second. And you can also use these incantations to push off enemies off cliffs, by the way. That's also a nice extra feature that they have. They're just extremely powerful and fun to use. Now with the gear you start off with, you are still too squishy at this point. You don't even get gauntlets as a prophet. That's how bad it is. And now that we're getting OP and transcending, we can't keep wearing this shit. Remember the point we spent into endurance earlier and the thing I said about survivability? Well, it's time to get our gear. Especially because you want to prevent this in particular from happening as much as possible. This is collapsing and it will ruin your momentum as a incantations mage completely. We want to get our poise to 56 at least, and with that you will have reached the 4th threshold of the poise thresholds in the game. This is a very significant threshold and probably the most important one. With it you will reduce your chances of collapsing significantly. Thankfully it all ties in together, because right outside the Cathedral of Dragon Communion, where we just got our incantations, there are 2 Banished Knights that drop an amazing set that gives you a lot of extra defensive stats and exactly 56 poise. So go and farm them, keep killing them until they drop the entire set, and when they do so, equip all of it. And not only is this set very good in terms of stats, it also just looks really good as well, and it's one of my favorite sets in the game. There is just one problem with all of this though. This is all heavy armor, and it will force you into rolling like a clown. We need to get that medium equip load roll back as soon as possible. So, for our second talisman, we want to get the Great Jar's Arsenal. It's a really great talisman that will make it so that we can use medium rolls with our current stats. We don't need to invest more points in endurance, while at the same time we're going all out in gear and are wearing heavy armor. You can get this talisman in Caelid as well. You will have to go through the Siofra River for this, which is an underground area that you can access via Limgrave. So go to the Siofra River well in Limgrave and take the elevator there to go down. Take 2 stone sword keys with you, by the way. That's pretty important because otherwise you can't access it. And when you're down underground, take the next elevator when you go outside. There are also a bunch of runes in this area, and considering we are still at the start of the game, it's going to be useful to pick those up. Now we have taken the second elevator to go to the second area. You will want to go all the way north to the next elevator. Move towards there, it's a very linear path, just go north. And when you arrive there, use your stone sword keys and go back into Caelid again. Now just move forwards till you arrive at the huge jar. The fastest thing to do is ignore the giants or kill them if you are in a good mood. If you ignore the giants and you want to de-aggro the one shooting arrows at you, take cover behind the jar, go to your menu, log out and then log in again, and he won't shoot anything at you anymore. Now to get the talisman we need to defeat 3 invaders in a row, back to back without a break, and I think they are at least level 100, so if you're doing this at the very start of the game you will have difficulties in defeating them. If that's the case, just go to this spot exactly where I'm going. They will instead one by one fall off the cliff like a bunch of idiots. If they get stuck at the wall, just move around a bit to let the AI read path, and then they will go for you instead. Now this is the easiest way in the history of Elden Ring to get a S tier talisman in Elden Ring at the start of the game. Now that you have this talisman, equip it and we can use our medium rule again, and we are also full heavy armor, have a bunch of defensive stats, have high poise, and our survivability is incredibly good, while our damage output is also insane. With this we counter the Dragon Breath's only weakness, namely that they take time to cast. Even if something happens to us during the cast, we won't collapse as easily as previously, we will sustain hits mid-cast, and if we get interrupted we won't take a lot of damage, so we will just be able to reposition and cast again. Even though the damage is very good, our shield has still very bad scalings at this point in the game, and it's definitely suppressing the true potential of the build, and you can actually get it to S tier at the start of the game as well. But really the main purpose of doing this is really just going to be speeding up you killing everything. For the shield to get S tier scaling we have to get it to +7, but for some reason getting a Somber Smithing Stone number 7 is going to require a lot more effort than getting a Somber Smithing Stone 8 and 9, which are really easy to get for us, specifically now that we visit Greyroll and unlocked a lot of Caelid. For Somber Smithing Stone 1 to 4 you can just buy them from EG in Lernia. He's very close to the northern Lernia lakeshore. Somber Smithing Stone 5 is really close to the grace of the cave that the trap sent us to earlier in this video. You just have to go out of the cave, then take a right turn and just keep moving till you get to the stone and pick it up. For Somber Smithing Stones 6 and 7 we unfortunately have to go to Volcano Manor at this stage of the game. Thankfully it is accessible at the start of the game. We'll just have to go through Raya Lucaria Academy. There is a hidden teleport over there that brings us to Somber Smithing Stone 6 and 7. For this we need to first pick up the key that unlocks the academy. Thankfully there is a good convenience here, as the dragon right here is on our kill list in fact, so while you're here kill the dragon as well and loot the key. Enter the Raya Lucaria Academy, and whether you want to kill everybody in your path or just ignore them all is up to you. Keep moving till you get to the graveyard, then get on the elevator thing and let it make you go all the way till the bottom. You will get a surprise visit from this guy, let him grab you on purpose, and unfortunately he will do some questionable things to you while you're inside, but when you die you will teleport to Volcano Manor in fact. It's very convenient, and now that we are in Volcano Manor, move forward till you get to the rock formation right here and jump down the lava. Get to the other side quickly as possible, don't die, that's quite important, and start moving to the right towards the stairs. Go up the stairs, ignore the Serpent Warrior and take a left and go to the roofs. Now that you're on the roofs, just move exactly like I'm doing, basically just move a bit forward and you will find a Somber Smithing Stone 6 right here on one of them. Now go back to the spot where you were before you jumped on the roofs, go up the stairs again, and this time instead of going to the left, take the elevator. Taking the elevator gets you here and you'll want to just move forward, ignore the guy that's standing in your path, but do go up the stairs and take a turn to the left and you'll see something that you can push. Pushing this handle will create a bridge for you, which is very convenient because our Somber Smithing Stone number 7 is on the other side of the bridge. Now cross the bridge, jump on the little elevation that you'll find here, then jump on the platform right here as well, go to the highest point essentially and jump towards the ledge on the other side. And the body that's laying there will have a Somber Smithing Stone number 7 for you to pick up. A little warning though, because the jump is actually really annoying and it will definitely take several attempts to get it down, but like always I have faith in you. For Somber Smithing Stone 8 and 9 go to Caelid, to the northeastern part. Number 8 is going to be exactly here. Kill the scarab and it will drop it for you. Number 9 is going to be close as well, it's going to be exactly here. On a body that's sitting on a chair. Pick that up as well, and congratulations, you're finished now and can get your seal all the way to +9 at the start of the game. Going from C tier to S tier is going to be very noticeable, because now you don't even have to wait anymore for Scarlet Roll to kick in versus many enemies. So if you don't have a lot of patience, then this upgrade is going to make your life a lot better. Now the most fun part is going to start, because we are going to finish our roster of incantations basically. First we want to get more dragon incantations, and for that we want to kill everybody on this list. For Executus you want to go back to the cathedral where we got our dragon incantations. He will be right outside. kill him. It should be relatively easy now that you have a S tier seal with OP incantations. Now when you kill him you will get a dragon heart, but it will also unlock the Executus Decay incantation, and get that incantation for sure. It's the upgraded version of Rotten Breath basically, and it does insane damage. You'll want to use Rotten Breath if you are mounted or if you want to be conservative with your FP, but if you want to go all out, just use Executus Decay and it will do a very good job at nuking whatever you're facing. Also, remember the dragon we killed earlier when we were en route to the academy? By doing that we unlocked Smarag's Glintstone Breath, which is a very hard hitting spell. It does not work around debuffs and it does not apply damage over time, but it is the hardest hitting pure damage dragon breath in the game. Definitely get it as well, you will one shot a lot of bosses with it. Now we have 5 incantations and we want to kill some more dragons. Go kill Agil in the Dragon Burnt Runes. This should be a familiar place by now and he will be the easiest to kill. Doing so unlocks the upgraded Flame Breath incantation. And also go to the northeastern part of Caelid for the last dragon on our list for now, where we will find Grail. Kill him as well and that should leave you with 2 more dragon hearts. What you want to get now is really up to preference, but at this point in the game, Flame Breath is probably going to be the most useful option, as it will give us a fire spell, and with that covers another type of elemental damage, and it will also just hit really hard versus several types of enemies in the game. Now we have 6 different dragon incantations. For now we're going to leave the other dragon incantations on standby. It's time to complement our bundle of dragon incantations with some other types of incantations. We want to pick up something that we can use as a long range, high burst, staple spell that also casts quickly, as we don't really have something that exactly fits those 3 criteria yet. Welcome to Lightning Spear, it's too good and you can get it by getting the prayer book from a mob that walks around in Lernia of the Lakes right here. Kill him and he will drop the Dragon Cult prayer book. Take it with you and go to the turtle nearby in the Church of Vows, trade it in and buy that spell. Now we want to pick up an even cooler spell that's also extremely good. For this, go to the Weeping Peninsula area south of Limgrave, go to the Kelu Baptismal Church. Everybody is crazy here, so be careful for that, but you will be able to loot it from a body right here in this church. This is the Flame of the Frenzy spell. It's a very good option as well. It staggers, it builds up madness on your enemies, and it does great AoE damage. And it makes you look so cool as you cast it through your eyes. Yeah. Next up we want to pick up something from the Blackflame school, so we really become as versatile as can be. For this you want to go to Stormvale, then go to the left side chamber grace and go outside. Move all the way through the courtyard till you get to the other side and then go down the sneaky stairs. The spell that we want is behind the fog gate, so take a stone sword key with you and then the spell will be in a chest for you in this room. It is a prayer book again, so you'll have to turn it in. This time do it at the NPC at the round table hold. And you will be able to get Black Flame, which is a very quick spell that you can spam or charge every time. And it has the unique feature that after it hits, it will also sap additional HP from the enemy based on a percentage. And therefore it's especially effective versus enemies with those large health pools, like bosses for example. And I have noticed a trend here because all the incantations that we have picked up look very cool. Also make sure to keep your memory slots up to date so you can actually cast all of these spells at the same time. I have covered where to get all of the memory stones in the game in previous videos, so I will put a link to that in the description. Playing with incantations gives you room for a lot of extra utility in your kit. You can for example heal yourself, but with these incantations we have very hard hitting pure damage options, but we also can apply various debuffs on enemies and you will dominate the game just like this. But if you feel like you need utility in the form of damage buffs, then either Golden Vow is going to be incredibly good because it boosts all our spells, or Flame Grant Me Strength, which will boost our fire spells specifically but with a higher percentage, and you can combine these two as well by the way if you want to go all out. Now finally for our Flask, at some point you definitely want to pick up the Cerulean Hidden Tear, but it's not really a thing that you pick up in the early game, so I won't cover it in this video. For now it's good to have like a mix of something defensive and something offensive. Use the Opaline Bubble Tear for a shield that negates incoming damage that you can pick up from killing the Erdtree avatar near the minor Erdtree in the Weeping Peninsula area. A very good option to mix it with is the Flame Shrouding Crack Tear that you can pick up in Caelid near the Smoldering Church. You'll have to defeat the Putrid avatar boss right there, and when you do so he will drop it for you. This component will boost at least 3 different spells in our current rotation, and it's going to be much more noticeable and better than just boosting Fate with a raw number. Also make sure to keep picking up sacred tears and golden seeds on the road, and like with a mage build, distribute your flasks to be favored in terms of FP. Now the more FP flasks you get, the stronger you're going to get, because with more flasks you can channel your dragon incantations over and over. Now there are still a bunch of other interesting options and powerful incantations in the game that unlock in the later stages of the game. Therefore I will make a follow-up video for the late game specifically, and we will optimize the build and make it the absolute most powerful. But that's optimization. For now you already have an incredibly powerful, OP and fun build that you're going to destroy the game with, whether it's PvE or PvP, and more importantly that you can make at the start of the game. And due to how the incantations work that we have, the build only gets better and better as you progress in the game. I hope you enjoyed the video, good luck and have fun using this build. Leave a like, that would help out a lot. Subscribe to your boy and hit the bell thing as well so you never miss out on anything. And leave your thoughts in the comments.